Ask about details of the vision. I know it's not easy, but I'd like to talk about Eloise again. About what happened to her in your dream. Cecile's expression turns to stone. I know it's not easy to talk about it, and it's very personal. If you don't want to, no, it's okay. Her answer is a mere whisper. Her eyes still reveal some uneasiness and fear, but she seems more composed than she was yesterday. I'm ready. Cecile takes a deep breath, mustering up as much courage as possible. It seems as if she's been mentally preparing for today. So, can you describe the environment around you again? Yesterday, you didn't really give the clearest description. It was, chaotic, to say the least. Cecile lets out a bitter laugh. One thing was totally clear, and that was Eloise lying on the ground. It must be because of my own fear, but the surrounding environment was just a big blur. Oh. It was a quartz floor, I could see that much. Our building has the same style floor, tiles, and the hallways and stairwells. Her art tools were scattered everywhere, strewn about on the ground, but it was hard to make out details. So, it was indoors? I couldn't see any familiar chairs or desks, and the classroom floor is different. You said there was a lot of blood around her head. Were there any signs of injury besides that? There was some slight bruising on her arm. I couldn't see it very clearly. Her hair covered up a lot. One more thing. Her clothes were particularly messy. Something that wouldn't just happen from falling to the ground. It was horrible. Yeah. But apparently this was in the past, so I guess the girl's okay? Question mark? The moon is arguably the most direct clue we have. Even with any expertise, the average person could deduct a lot from that through common sense, and I can ask some friends who are experts in this matter for help. But overall, Cecile's description is way too vague to find out exactly what happened. There's something else. You said you were able to make out a painting. Can you describe it? I can't recall many details, but the painting's paper was thin and it was torn open. I've seen that painting around before. Even though I can't remember what was on it, the impression is still imprinted on my mind. Maybe you could look for it. It might offer up some clues. I've tried to find it, but, well, that's all we have so far. Ask about Eloise as student rep. Yesterday you said Eloise frequently gets into arguments and doesn't get along that well with others. I'm a little curious. Then, if that's the case, how did she end up with her position? Sounds like there's been a lot of trouble lately, right? I'm not really sure, but I once overheard two teachers talking. This year's change of representatives was unusual, but the school had to do it. Otherwise, it would have had severe consequences. Sounds like there's a lot going on behind the scenes. I don't know the teachers that well, so we couldn't just ask them about what exactly happened. A new representative. A big change like that is bound to leave some traces. Is her suddenly having such an important position the reason others have a problem with Eloise? I don't really think that's the real reason. Usually, even if someone they don't like ends up in a representative position, the students aren't really bothered about it. And although it's a nice title, there's a limit to what a representative actually can do. They basically help teachers and send and receive things, Sometimes they attend school meetings to represent the student body. They don't do much else. I see. So it's really just a fancy title after all. A few students seem to care and deliberately keep their distance. Usually they're the ones who take the lead in picking on classmates, so there is a lot of resentment towards them. Do they have their eye on you too? Not right now. I've been avoiding the seniors. Cecile's expression relaxes a little and she shows the hints of a smile. Seems like you want things to stay how they are. If she always has my back, will they start to focus on her? I don't want that to happen. She's done more than enough for me already. You can ask your teachers. That would only make things worse. Her expression becomes more gloomy. That day, I stood outside the classroom and heard them arguing about something with Eloise. I heard someone say that if she overstepped her boundaries, they wouldn't give any credit to the art club at next semester's competition. So, like a strike then? I understand that it's impossible to ignore a threat to such an important event. So, it's a balancing act between the two sides for her. I'm sure it's really getting to her. It's clear that there are some problems going on in the background. Cecile begins to mumble. She's obviously sad and doesn't want to get into this topic any further. Time passes by way too quickly. Made some progress, but nothing groundbreaking. Geez. The hallucinations made their first appearance after she started using incense. There's an obvious connection there. I highly doubt it could be mere coincidence. Other factors, as of yet unknown, might be involved, but the causal link between the two is clear. The origin of this incense called lilac grass is unknown, but Cecile explained how to use it. We have no way of finding out how this trend started. Students at that age are easily manipulated and eager to try out new things. It's possible that someone spiked the incense and mixed something else into it. No one would notice until it was too late. In recent years, the abuse of LSD has become increasingly popular among the underage population. If lilac grass has begun to spread among the students, I would have more access to information, but it would also mean that the situation is getting worse. This could just be one example of something bigger going on. Then there's the matter of Cecile seeing Eloise in her dream. If these dreams are rooted in reality, there might be more to Eloise than she lets on. She is, after all, the person supplying Cecile with the incense. Sooner or later, Cecile will have to confront her and ask her about the origins if she wants to find out more details. It's a very serious thing for a student to be physically injured at school. Such events are far more likely to leave a mark than anything else. I feel sorry for Cecile, but we should probably take a break. That seems to be all today. I put away my pen and accompany Cecile to the door. Cecile looks quite exhausted. She bows politely. By the way, it would be better if you didn't use lilac grass. I can't read. Lilac grass anymore. You don't know what exactly where it comes from, so you shouldn't take it lightly. Well, if Eloise asks, I'll make up some excuse. I do care about her a lot, but be aware of the fact that she's hiding something. Yeah, Eloise is alive, somehow. She's alive. I don't know how, but apparently she's just still there. And she didn't even tell Cecile about this event. Like, she found out about it through a hallucinatory dream. I'll get in touch with you as soon as I find out more. It's up to you to decide whether or not you approach her. I think that's enough for now. We talked quite a bit. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. Goodbye. My initial questions have been answered. Many more have come up, and the whole dynamic of this case is changing. No one's to blame. Small progress is better than no progress. But if this is the pace at which we'll continue moving forward... Anyway, I should share what I found out with Scarlet. I decided to ignore my growling, empty stomach and go back inside to continue working. Okay, so we don't have anything to do with the bookshelf. Let's check out our case files. We got some, we got two things. We got what happened to Eloise. Underneath its pure white exterior, Phoenix High School is hiding something bad. Can we find out more? And what are Lilac Grass's origins? Cecile finally confessed why she had the dream. Where exactly does the incense that causes this mysterious experience come from? Okay. So we got two things. We got three things. Cecile's decision. So we got two things. According to Cecile, Eloise has been standing up for her ever since she joined the club. However, the students' issues were not immediately resolved. To avoid further trouble for Eloise, Cecile chose to suffer alone. A painting in a pool of blood. In the vision, Cecile saw Eloise lying in a pool of blood. Pieces of a painting were lying scattered around the unconscious student. Okay. Do we have any thoughts to add? There's nobody here. Time to collect my thoughts. I've never come across this so-called lilac grass, but many hallucinogenic plants have been used throughout history, and the search for illusions never went out of fashion. The question is, where this lilac grass came from. As long as I don't know that, there's no way of knowing the extent of its effects. Considering that, Cecile should be more concerned about what she's seen. Hermitage does have a lot of medical books in its collection, so maybe it's time to start looking for them. Next stage we go. I don't understand what these things mean. Nighttime. Looks like it's going to start raining any moment now. How about some more appropriate weather for once? Closing time, and I fumble for the key to the front door on the ground floor and slip it in my pocket. An hour and a half of talking, 4 cups of coffee. The perfect recipe for an overreactive bladder. Bathroom. It would have been impossible to fit a bathroom anywhere on the ground floor, and at times like this, just a few flights of stairs, can seem especially long. What the hell is wrong with today's youth? No one would accuse anyone for bad behavior alone, but an unprovoked attack demonstrates the injustice in the world, plain and simple. Cecile doesn't seem to be from a rich family. How is it even possible for her to go to Phoenix High? Time to head out. I wash my hands and go back downstairs. A customer. Whoa. Oh, maybe it's not a customer. I don't think I'm seeing clearly. I might as well go back and rinse out my eyes. Visitor in the rain. Good evening, sir. Are you alright? I would be if you hadn't shown up. Jeez. I answered loudly from outside the door. I'm sorry, I picked a bad time to visit since you're off work. May I come in? It's really inconvenient to talk like this. He gives in. The visitor's trench coat and hat are drenched. He seems unperturbed, casually covering a briefcase he's holding in his left hand. He has the same build as me, with an inconspicuous face. Judging by his complexion, he's most likely from Europe, but he doesn't have any prominent features. His composure is meticulous, straight and expressionless, so it is impossible to know what is going on in his head. I'm afraid that it's not a good thing. Let's see if he has any thoughts before we go into this interaction. I think many of my brain cells are killed by the smoke. That guy shows up uninvited right when trouble starts brewing. That's what I call suspicious. Lucky for me that Scarlet chose not to stay in the store. She would have killed me if I found out. We are still in contact. So she knows this guy. Or he knows this guy. But they both do. Question mark? I don't know. Anyway, no sense in making a fuss. It's always smarter to stay calm. Hello? I'm relieved to see you're still here. Seeing as you're here now, I can't go. So what's up? I wanted to confirm that you're well. I also have a few books that I would like you to sell on my behalf. What? I didn't expect you, of all people, to want me to sell your books one day. What with your current status, I think you will be well suited for this assignment. It just makes sense. The statement is so on point that I can't even find an excuse to deny it. To be honest, I don't even remember where I first met this strange guy. But I knew he would come by, mostly to make sure I was still staying at the bookstore. After all, this unfriendly person in front of me is the one who offered me a place to hide after that incident. I think he had some kind of interaction with the supernatural or like the paranormal. Or specifically sea gods, you know? All of that Lovecraftian stuff. The visitor opens his briefcase, methodically removing book after book from it and placing them on the work desk. They look like old volumes, most of which have been repackaged with plastic covers. The mountain of books doesn't seem like it could have fitted into that slim leather briefcase. I think we should talk about your definition of a few books. You're trustworthy, and I know you don't want any trouble. You can turn your attention back to the other matters after you sold the books. The profit margin you take from the sale is up to you. You're not selling books, you're giving them away, friend. I pick up one of them and flip through the pages at random. Can writing on paper really be considered a product? I've always been skeptical of that. Knowledge can never be measured in money, and if a book is purchased for knowledge, then I value destiny more than the price tag. I didn't peg you for a romantic. I'll go ahead and agree to this, but I won't take on anything that's too dangerous. It wouldn't sell anyway. I knew you wouldn't refuse. You couldn't know that for sure. These books come in all sorts of categories, and I give up my perusal of the books to study the catalog. Modern poetry collections, newspaper clippings, current political commentary, investigation reports, field notes, yearbooks. Honestly, you're leaving me 2 copies of The Story Club here. I think some of these books are still... Huh? What is it? It's nothing. These aren't bad. I'll keep them for you. This might work. I close the book in my hand and try to control my facial expression. That's good. Now that you've taken these off my hands, I shall take my leave. He picks up his briefcase and turns sharply to face the door. You're leaving already? Don't you want to wait out the rain? The delivery man ignores my advice. Now that the purpose of my visit has been served, there is no need for me to take up any more of your time. I'll be in touch again when the time is right. Good luck to you. He lifts his hat in farewell and then disappears outside the store. That was weird. A cold sweat breaks out on my skin and my clothes are sticking to my back. quietly move towards the door and check the surroundings. I don't know if it's just my imagination, but there seems to be a tall girl on the other side of the street. She's facing this way, holding up a cell phone for a photo. After she notices me looking, she quickly puts away the phone and makes her way to the subway station nearby. Probably just someone who is interested in architecture. After all, this building looks like a piece of cake with the top cut off, which is a relatively rare shape for a house. I can't worry too much about this right now. I make my way back inside and approach the old bookcases. The former owner of Hermitage made good use of the available space, managing to stuff 3 sets of bookshelves inside. The shelves are categorized by somewhat self-conscious names such as ES, Ich, and Uberik. Yes. I don't know what that means. They are huge and filled to the brim, limiting the line of sight. The air is damp and warm. Because the rooms are quite small, customers can pick up a book anywhere on the ground floor and allow themselves to drown in its pages while enjoying a quiet, private, convenient experience. Being entranced by what you're reading can definitely screw with your perception of time. Sitting there, watching rays of light shimmering through the window, occasionally broken up by the silhouette of a customer walking by, light and darkness interrupted by an irregular interval, time slips away without anyone even noticing. What a great feeling. But today, there's no time to relax and enjoy the moment.